Hello everyone, my name is EVOO and welcome to Cooking with the Koyas. Great to see you because today I need a quick meal. So I'm going to make pasta with an arrabbiata sauce. Sugo arrabbiata. What does arrabbiata mean? It means angry, mad. And I think it's got that name because a sauce likes to be simmered, simmered for a few hours. This sauce comes together real quickly, 15 minutes, 30 minutes max. So that's why I think it's an angry sauce, an arrabbiata sauce. Let's get started right now. So this sauce takes some simple ingredients, but one of the main ingredients are whole tomatoes. And I like to use the San Marzano tomatoes, the ones from Italy. If you can find those are the ones to use. They have the absolute most flavor. So let me get this can ready. And to get it ready with those whole tomatoes, you have a choice. I mean, you could take the whole tomatoes out, right? You could take them out. There's one right there popping out here. And chop them up if you want. Or an easier way, what I like to do, is I just take a hand blender, an immersion blender, and just give them a quick shot. Right in the can. So what this does is it's going to help create a really fresh flavor. That's it. This is going to be a very, very fresh flavor. An angry sauce, but a fresh flavored sauce. Okay, our water is almost boiling. This sauce, folks, simple ingredients. Of course, we're going to start off with extra virgin olive oil. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tablespoons. A generous 5 tablespoons. All right. Put that on medium temp. And to the extra virgin olive oil, I have here 3 cloves of garlic that I minced. In goes the garlic. Okay, you gotta have garlic, of course. All right, so garlic goes in. Along with the garlic, 1 chili pepper. If you have a dried one, great. If you have a fresh one, great. Either or works perfectly fine. So we've got our garlic, we've got our olive oil, we have our chili pepper. That, folks, is the traditional base for an arrabbiata sauce. Of course, my version I'm going to make slightly different because I like to enhance it just a bit. And to be honest with you, some people, some of the modern arrabbiata sauces, they'll add some extra spices or they'll add onion, but I don't like to do that in particular. Instead, I would rather add a little bit of prosciutto. This, I've roughly chopped it up. It's about 50 grams of prosciutto, and I'm going to add that as well. Now, keep in mind, this added prosciutto is not the traditional arrabbiata sauce. That's my version. So if you want to stick with the traditional one, just omit the prosciutto. If you have the prosciutto, I highly recommend adding it because it really does make this arrabbiata sauce, let's say it makes it a little happier, okay? Okay, now if you don't have prosciutto, of course you could also use about 50 grams of bacon. All right, so I just have that on medium temp. We're going to bring that up. We're just going to let that simmer for a few minutes. But it looks like our pasta water is boiling, so that is fantastic. What I'm going to add in there, okay, first things first, we need to salt our pasta water. Now that it's coming to a boil, always wait for it to come to a boil before you salt it. That way it saves the bottom of your pan or your pot from getting stained, let's say. And you want to add 3/4 of a tablespoon of salt for every liter of water that you have. You want it to be nice and salty. Okay, the expression is salty like the ocean. All right, so with our water now boiling, we could add our pasta. Now I'm going to actually use a neat pasta today. It's neat because it's only, I don't know if you've ever seen them, it's a half a rigatoni, basically, is what it is. It's a good Italian brand. Always look for an Italian brand from Italy if you can. This one's going to take 13 minutes to cook, and in it goes. So that goes in. We'll give that 13 minutes to cook, and by the time that is cooked, our sauce will be ready, because our sauce only needs, like I said, 15 minutes. So the garlic, the prosciutto, and the pepper is just simmering on medium right now. And I'm just going to let that cook for just a few minutes, okay? Just to flavor that olive oil, and get the garlic flavored, and get that hot pepper moved around, and that prosciutto, and some of the fats from the prosciutto to kind of melt in there a bit. So I'm going to say 2 to 3 minutes simmer. And meanwhile, stir our pasta. There we go. Now, I said 13 minutes. When it comes back to a boil, that's when you start your 13-minute timer going. So it's starting to come back to a boil now. I'll start my timer going right now. What would we do without timers? Okay, timer is going. And that's been long enough here. It's been about 2 minutes. So I'm now going to add our beautiful fresh tomatoes. Look at that. Use a spatula, get all that tomato sauce out. I shouldn't say tomato sauce. It's fresh tomatoes. It's not sauce yet. Okay. But the flavor on these San Marzano tomatoes, amazing. All right. And all you do now, give it a stir. Okay, we're going to stir that all in. And just because I like a little bit of color, and I mentioned to you earlier that some people like to add extra spices and onions. Well, I'm not going to necessarily do the onions, but I will add some oregano, only because I like to see that little bit of green mixed in the sauce, and it adds a nice little flavor. Again, that's optional. Okay, so the two optional ingredients here were the prosciutto and the oregano. So I'm just going to put it on high because I want to get it to basically to a boil, and then we're going to cook this, aggressively cook it for the remaining time, which is only going to be about, like I say, it's less than 15 minutes. But the flavor on this sauce, believe it or not, for a quick sauce is actually really, really good. Starting to boil now, so I'm going to take it off a high, or I'm going to make a big mess. And we're going to drop it down to a medium high. There we go. And we're going to let this now continue to cook while our pasta cooks. Okay, that's the aggressive boil that I'm talking about right there. You can see it's boiling on the edges, and it's going to start boiling here in the middle as well. So you can just continue to keep that stirred, and if you find it's a little too aggressive, just back off on the heat just a little bit. I would also like to mention, as you see it's aggressively cooking and it's splattering a bit, if you stir it, it helps alleviate that splattering, but you're still retaining that heat. How's that sauce looking, folks? We got 4 minutes on the timer left, just over 4 minutes, so we're getting there. But it's looking really, really good. Perfect, that is done. Very nice. Our pasta is done. Our sauce is done. Let's turn that off. So we can now take our pasta, and I mentioned I'm using these half rigatonis. You could use penne, you could use any pasta you want. In fact, it's great with spaghetti. It goes really, really good with spaghetti. But there we go. Our sauce is done. Let's turn that off. Let's add a little bit of that sauce. Oh yeah, maybe just a little more. And a little more. All right, let's see how that is. I like lots of sauce because afterwards I get my bread and I like to dip it in the sauce, especially you get some nice fresh homemade Italian bread. That is the best. Look at there, folks. Talk about a quick pasta dish. But the flavors on this dish, for being so quick, the sauce itself is going to be very, very, very good. There's the hot pepper, a little more sauce. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Looky there, folks, right there. Okay, and you know what we're missing now? Some freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano. Oh yeah. You could use Pecorino Romano as well if you like. Beautiful. Oh boy, now you know what I need, folks. The taste test. Yeah, you know my favorite part. Take a look at there, folks. Now that is a pasta dish. Pasta Arrabbiata. Now the pasta, it's the sauce that's Arrabbiata. The sauce is angry, but you know what? You don't have to be angry. In fact, I'm going to be very happy. Okay, it's not a 3-hour long simmered Italian sauce, but what it is, it's a very fresh tasting. You get that taste of the San Marzano tomatoes, and then it finishes with that little bit of a bite with the chili pepper that we added. And then, of course, you got that enhanced flavor of the prosciutto. Absolutely delicious. 200 grams of pasta. That's going to feed Laura and I tonight. I better call her and I better stop because it's very tasty. The Parmigiano Reggiano, beautiful touch. If you're in a hurry, folks, the traditional Sugo Arrabbiata is absolutely delicious. Comes together quickly, very simple ingredients, and you got yourself a very nice meal. Wherever you're tuning in from, I would like to say thank you for tuning in, and I really hope you give this recipe a try. Until next time, buon appetito. Better call Laura.